Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chapter 16, Speaking to Persuade. Previously, we've been discussing how we adapt to our audience. Now we're going to be delving deep into what a persuasive speech is. And there are three types of persuasive speeches: propositions of fact, propositions of value, and propositions of policy, all of which adapt to either a value, belief, or behavior. So let's dive right on in with a proposition of fact which deals in belief. Questions of fact focus on a question about the truth or falsity of an assertion. When analyzing these questions of fact, it is very similar to an informative speech but presents a subjective view of the facts. So, for example, when I am trying to persuade you about the truth of lizard people in the government, or that the earth is flat, or that those are totally wrong, then I am presenting facts, but I am then using those facts to draw rational conclusions. So, evidence and reasoning play into these types of speeches. Organizing these sorts of speeches involves a lot of topical organization. Let's dive right on in now to propositions of value. This is to change, reinforce, or create someone's attitude on a topic. Questions of value are about the worth, rightness, morality, and so forth of an idea or an action. So, being pro-choice is good. Being pro-life is good. You talk about, so those are the ideas. Actions could also be like objects as well. So, for example, Xbox versus PlayStation, Coke versus Pepsi, Apple versus Windows, all of which are questions of value showing that one has value, the other doesn't have as much value. When analyzing these sorts of questions of value, justify your claim of what has value without inserting your opinion. The reason why is because you are not simply just stating your opinion, you are trying to prove that this has value, this doesn't. And when you insert your opinion, then it kind of gives away the game, because you are then you are just stating your opinion that this has value, and you want other people to agree with you that this has value. This also has topical organization. Now we move on to persuasive speeches on propositions of policy. Questions of policy try to change people's actions or behavior. A question about whether a specific course of action should or should not be taken. So we should do this or we shouldn't do this. The types of questions of policy, there are two. First, to gain passive agreement. It's strengthening commitment in a cause without actually trying to make them do something. And then speeches to gain immediate actions, breed commitment to cause it to be successful and to then engage in this. So a lot of times it will start with passive agreement into action. A good example of this is an election year where you're trying to gain someone's commitment, but you can't actually vote yet. And once someone has strong commitment to this, then you strive to regain immediate action from them in a different speech or in the same speech, that we then talk about. Here's what you can do. You can go to the website, you can donate, you can canvass, you can call your neighbor, your dog, whatever, to get them to vote for me. So, also, we have analyzing. So, how do we analyze these? By focusing on the need, plan, and practicality of the situation. Need is to convince people, convince the problem is serious enough that it needs to change. This, a lot of times, can be equated to consciousness raising in informative speeches to show that there needs to be something done about this problem. A lot of times, this is also where we create guilt for the audience. Next, we show the plan. Illustrate the key features of the plan. This a A solution cannot be achieved if there is no clear solution presented. This is actually a very interesting component of this because in political communication, there are some who believe that sharing a clear plan is actually the wrong thing to do because it can turn people away from your policies by giving them the specifics. It also gives your political opponents ammo to attack you. So by having very ambiguous plans of I plan on lowering taxes, or I plan on getting us out of the war, or getting us into the war, or by having ambiguous, or I'm going to have uh, all colleges tuition free. By doing all of those things, by having ambiguous plans like that, then there is nothing really you can attack because there is no price tag, there are no things to attach to those, and as a result, there's no, uh, there's less political blowback. This gains passive agreement, and eventually, when we but when analyzing them, we have to understand that we need those specific plans to form informed opinions on that policy. So, gaining immediate action needs that plan. Also, we have the practicality. Show why your plan will solve the problem and why it's advantageous over other plans. So, to create the logic and the reasoning behind each of these plans, because all of them have evidence and reasoning, we can use the Toulmin model, which I will discuss as well later on, but it's the claim, the position argued for. Let's say that I'm arguing that Xbox is better than PlayStation. Then I provide evidence that it is cheaper to buy games on Xbox than on PlayStation because Game Pass is $15 a month at maximum. So if you buy, you know, 3 games a year at $70 a pop, you are paying for that as you would on PlayStation. Then you would not have as much. You wouldn't have as much spending power on all of these games that are on Game Pass. So all of that was a bit confusing, but we have the claim. Xbox, you should buy, Xbox is cheaper than PlayStation. The grounds for that is that you can buy 3 games on PlayStation, you can buy, you can own 3 games on PlayStation, you can own hundreds of games on Game Pass. So now we go to the warrant, the principle, provision, or chain of reasoning that connects the grounds to the claim. So while yes, you don't have to buy 3 games, more people do tend to buy more than 3 games. And because of that, the Xbox has a more economical ecosystem. So the claim, the ground, the warrant are ways that we can create arguments that are appealing to the audience. We can also organize these questions of policies in many different ways. We can use the direct method pattern. First reason why, second reason why, third reason why. This tends to get really boring and I don't personally like it. We also have the problem solution order, where we demonstrate the need for a new policy by showing the extent and seriousness of the problem in the first main point, and then explain your problem for solving the explain your plan for solving the problem and show its practicality. So 2 main points. These tend to be for smaller ones where the cause of the problem is pretty self-explanatory. We then jump into some more specialized types of organizations. We have the comparative advantage order, when the audience already understands that there's a problem and that there needs to be something done about it, but there's questions as to what solution would be best. So you show the opposition solution, you show your solution, you compare your side to the opposition and show why yours is better. Then we have the refutational style. The refutational style is signaling the argument to which you are responding. Then stating your own argument, then providing justification or evidence to your side, and then summarize your response. This is used a lot of time in debate, where I signal the argument, state my argument, provide my evidence or justification, and then summarize. Next, we move on to Monroes motivated sequence. And this one we see more than we may think, because this happens a lot of times in advertising. We grab the audience's attention. We do this in our informative by using an attention grabber. We also create a need, make the audience feel the need to change so that they then will eventually hopefully change. How do we show them how to change? We provide satisfaction. Provide a solution that will satisfy that need. Then, visualization. Intensify the desire for this policy by visualizing the benefits. And then a call to action. Go out and buy this thing. A good example of this could potentially be a beauty product. We gain the audience's attention by very attractive person. Then we create a need. I used to have very coarse and disgusting hair. Then I used Dove. I create satisfaction for that need. Then throughout it, it's very visually striking. You gain a lot of the desire for that product by showing, oh, look, see, it's so silky smooth. I can do this. And then my hair goes out all over the place, and it's so beautiful. And then, call to action, Dove. Buy it. So this happens a lot more, not so directly, but it does happen throughout these advertisements. Next, we jump into the problem cause solution organization, and this is the one that we are doing. So, the introduction has the necessary components. The conclusion has the necessary components. Not going to talk about that all too much. But in the but the only difference is that the conclusion also ends with a call to action. The call to action should not be so large that it's impossible to do. Go out and buy an electric car and also put solar panels on your roof. That might be a bit too much to ask for a 5 to 7 minute or 6 to 8 minute speech. Whereas, go ride a bike every once in a while if you really want to, or only drive once, or maybe don't drive as much. Those are maybe too small of things. But if you find something in that nice middle ground, maybe avoid eating beef specifically for a week, or for 5 days a week, or maybe try to, next time you buy a car, buy one with a higher miles per gallon. So that creates a call to action that is more impactful. We also have the problem, the cause, and the solution. The problem should include clear definitions of any terms, provide the history, impact, and reasons why it's a problem. These could potentially be subpoints for the problem. You define it, you provide the history for it, and the impacts of it. A lot of times the problem is going to be where you create this guilt and this emotional appeal for why we should change. You could also provide the negative effects of why that are caused by my solution not being implemented. You then discuss the causes, the cause of why people are not implementing this solution, or you can also talk about you can detail why the problem even exists, and who created the problem, what happened to create it, or how did this thing happen. All of these could be potential subpoints. And you lastly come to proposing your solution to the problem. This one's a little bit tricky, or what seems tricky, but it really isn't. You can't just simply say, we should solve global warming. You have to come up with a specific plan. So fully describe what that solution would be, determine what the listeners would have to do to be a part of this problem, part of the solution, and list all the things that need to be accomplished in order for this solution to be impactful. It is detailing the solution and showing that it is possible. And you can even talk about the benefits of this solution. What are the things that will happen as a result of it? That concludes chapter 16, Speaking to Persuade. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you next time.